Hey everybody, it's Juan Murdoch with Keller Williams Realty in Idaho Falls, Idaho. And today I just thought I'd start making some instructional videos or some, I don't know, some knowledge videos to give people some insight into what I've learned about the market in Idaho Falls and Southeast Idaho over the last 23 years as working here as a realtor, a top producing realtor in Idaho Falls and Southeast Idaho. Like I said, I've been a realtor for 23 years, so I've seen a lot in the market happen. We see when I got in about 2004, we had there was about 300 agents on the MLS, and there was getting to be a few more, licensed and everything. Was kind of becoming popular to become a realtor. Around that time, and so about 300 agents on the MLS. And the market was starting to really increase about that time. When by 2008, when the market crashed, it had gone from 300 agents up to over 1,000 agents on the MLS. So there got to be a bunch of agents in there and working as real estate agents. And by the time the crash of 2008 happened, by about 2010, we were back down to about 300 agents again. So the real estate market is always an interesting market. It fluctuates, it goes up and down. I guess the question that I wanted to talk about today is now, here we are, August 5th, 2026, is now a good time for someone to get into the market and someone to buy a home. And so there's a few things that I'd say that I've learned over my time as an agent that can help. Is now a good time, or should I wait to buy? I hear a lot of people ask me that question, and it's probably one of the biggest questions that I get from people. There's some people out there that are waiting for mortgage rates to drop. Others are waiting for the prices to crash, and some are worried about, if I buy now, am I going to regret this decision 6 months later? So in this video, I'm going to try and go over that. Some of the things, some of the concerns, some of the questions, and some of the things that I've found in my experience over this last 23 years. And so the answer to that question is, should I buy right now? Really, the answer is, it depends. Depends on a lot of things. That's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but there's not a perfect time for everyone. I have found out the instead of asking, is now a good time to buy, I think the better question is now a good time for me? So it depends on a lot of things in your circumstances. What are your circumstances? Let's look at what's happening with the market right now and how it'll affect you in what you're trying to do, buying a home. Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions that anybody will ever make in their life. As far as investment wise goes, it's definitely probably the biggest investment that most people will make. So it's super important to make that right decision. You can either be ecstatically happy with the decision to buy a home, or it can be a real drudgery to you, and sometimes it can feel like a boat anchor around your neck. So one of the biggest advantage I'd say that buyers have in this market is they have more power. All right, buyers have more power, and the reason they have more power is because a few years ago during the pandemic, it was a time, it was a crazy time when you'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you'd go and look at the MLS and see that there had been 20 new homes put on the market overnight. And by 8 o'clock in the morning, if you didn't have an offer on that house, you were lost. You weren't going to get that house. There were multiple offers on everything, and it was a time of people were bidding way over. I mean, I think one of the houses that I bid during that time, we bid $150,000 over cash, and we didn't get it. We didn't get the home. People were bidding overpriced. They were bidding acceleration clauses where they would say, okay, we'll beat any other offer up to a certain amount. They were saying, we'll come in with cash, no inspection, no appraisal, and stuff like that. And it's what you kind of had to do to get a home. And it was really hard to compete back then. But what about today? Today, the market has definitely changed. Even at the start of the pandemic, the prices were a lot lower than they are now. But at the beginning of the pandemic, they shot up really fast. And today, the market's kind of leveled off. We haven't seen a dramatic increase in prices over the last, a couple of years, but we've actually seen a decrease in prices overall. The market's changed. Today, you're seeing that a lot of sellers are willing to negotiate. You don't have to go out at 5 o'clock in the morning and be the first to make, of 100 people that are making an offer on a home. So it gives you a chance to negotiate. It gives you a chance to really scour the market and look and see, okay, where in Idaho Falls do I want to be, or do I want to be in a surrounding area with some acreage? Do I want to be in somewhere that there's lots of different types of homes available in the area. So it gives you a chance to look, especially people that are coming from out of state. I help a lot of buyers from out of state, and they really don't know where they want to live in Idaho Falls, or do they want to be in the country? Do they want to be in the city? What fits their lifestyle? So one thing about today's market is it lets you really look at that and see what you can do or where you want to be. Other thing you can do with a market where it's a little bit slower right now, as far as being able to take your time to do stuff, is you can ask for the buyers can usually ask for things like their closing costs paid for. They can ask for more repairs, ask for a home warranty, even an interest rate buy down, which is a lot of concern today. The interest rates are a little bit higher than they have been in the past 5 or 6 years. They're bouncing right around 6.25%, which does make a difference. You got the combination of high prices right now with high interest, and so anything you can do to negotiate that down, whether it be to get a lower price or get a lower interest rate, is going to work to your advantage. Those things were just about impossible during the pandemic. You were given over asking. You were multiple offers. So today it is a more calm atmosphere. People can go in. If you're a buyer coming in and looking for a home, you can take your time. And I love that. I love spending time with people and saying, okay, we can go out and we can take a look at 5 houses today, and we can rate those 5 houses. And at the end of the showings today, we're going to come up with the number 1 house that you love today. And then tomorrow we're going to go see another 5 houses and that you have on your list. If you like, you're going to compare those 5 houses that we see tomorrow with the number 1 from today, and you're going to come up with a number 1 house. I love doing that, especially with everybody, first time home buyers especially. When you get done with it at the end of the day with a bunch of showings, it's kind of hard to remember everything about those homes that you saw. And so if you do that kind of a process of elimination, but we'll save that for another video. Anyway, also another benefit of what buyers have today is there's a lot more to choose from. I ran some interesting statistics back in today, August 5th, 2026. There are 384 active homes on the market in Idaho Falls. And that's a big difference from between back in 2020. In August of 2020, there were 202 houses on the market, and that's single family condos, townhomes. So today, 384. In 2020, there was 202. So you have a lot more selection of homes on the market today, which leads to, sellers are more willing to negotiate because there's more homes that they're competing with to sell. So that's another advantage. Another thing that helps out buyers. I mean, mortgage rates are a little bit higher, but if you talk about mortgage rates, there's something to consider. Overall, prices are up, mortgage rates are up, but one thing you can do is when right now where the mortgage rates are a little bit higher, you can go in and negotiate a little bit better price usually on that. And when the mortgage rates drop, they inevitably will drop, at some point. Nobody knows when or nobody knows how much, but typically what can happen is when you go and the mortgage rates drop, you can go in and refinance. So you're getting the benefit of being able to, if you go and negotiate something today, negotiate the price a little bit lower, and then, sometime down the road, a year or 2 years down the road, refinance that, refinance your mortgage and get it down to a lower rate. What happens typically, if you'll see right now, is where the mortgage rates are higher, prices are higher. If all of a sudden the mortgage rates started to drop, you'd see a flood of people coming in to the market and buying those homes. And what will typically happen is the price will start to go up again. So it's kind of a balance. You get the higher interest rates, you get less homes or more homes on the market. If you get that interest rates to drop a little bit, all of a sudden you'll see a lot more homes come on the market and more buyers in the market and less negotiation that is usually able to happen. So it kind of balances itself out. So let's talk about waiting. Waiting to buy a home. Some people will tell me, Juan, I don't know. I want to see what the market does. I want to wait and see what interest rates do. I want to wait and see what if prices crash. And that's I don't know. I think probably the better thing to look at is, what's my situation right now? How am I sitting financially? Do I have enough for a down payment? Do I have enough to cover my closing costs? Is my job secure? Do I plan on staying in the house for more than a couple years? One thing that people make a mistake of sometimes is jumping in to the market and their job's not very secure, so they kind of force the fit, and they end up, in a year or so after that, after buying that house, they try and sell that house, and man, it's very rare that you can come out with selling a home after you've only been in it for a year or two. Can get out of it without having to come in with some money. So I think it's one of those things you just you have to look at in this market. You have to ask yourself the questions. What am I doing for housing right now? Am I renting? If I'm renting, am I just throwing that money away every month? Some people, renting's a better option for because they, don't have enough money saved up, or they don't have, their job's not secure enough, or they're not sure if they're going to be in the area very long, or, family dynamics may be changing, stuff like that. So that's one thing you need to look at and to help you decide. I always talk about who should buy right now. I think everybody's situation is different. And you just have to ask yourself and answer that question kind of for yourself. Am I a person that I don't want to throw my money away and rent every month? What's my situation with my income? Things like that we've just talked about. Some final thoughts on this. I talked to somebody the other day, and they were saying, well, when is the perfect time to buy? If now, if the market is where it's at right now, finances are at where they're at right now, interest and everything, when is the perfect time to buy? And I always tell people, perfect time to buy, the best time to buy was always, every time, 5 years ago. And so what that means is, look at the market. I mean, 5 years ago, you could have bought something, and today you would be in such a good position if you'd have bought 5 years ago. And that is always the case. Always the case. So you just have to look at history and say, okay, in 5 years from now, what's the market going to be like? What, no one has a crystal ball and can decide that. But I remember we purchased a house in it was 2004. We purchased a house in 2004, and I remember the house we bought was on an acre, and it was about 3,200 square feet. And I remember when we bought that house, we paid 230,000 for it. And I thought the world had come to an end when we bought that house. I'm like, how will we ever afford this house? This is so much money. And so, we're so buried in this and we're never going to get out from under this. And in about a year and a half, the market had dropped down a little bit, and it was worth less than what we bought it for. So we just hung on to that house, and uh, after a couple more years, it had bounced right back up, and um, we did end up selling the house, and we made a profit on it. And that same house, so this was in 2004 that we bought that house. Today, that same house is worth about 800,000. So the market, went back all the way to 1900 in Idaho Falls, and looked at the market, and consistently year over year, prices in Idaho Falls, home prices in Idaho Falls, have increased by 3%. So some years they're going to increase, 10%. Some years are going to decrease 12%. Idaho Falls doesn't really fluctuate rapidly like that and greatly. But if you look, that's one good thing about Idaho Falls, and one thing that people really appreciate about Idaho Falls is that market is just a steady over time increase. So if you look at, okay, is it a good decision to buy a home right now? Definitely the answer is yes, if you can afford it, if you can pay for it, if you plan on staying here for a little bit, that answer is absolutely yes. Because 5 years from now, historically, that house is going to be worth more money. And where a home is your biggest asset, um, you plan on staying in that home 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, whatever the number is, it's going to be an asset that's going to, in your retirement years, you can do a reverse mortgage on it. It can be paid off. You can rent it out. You can sell it, take the equity. Um, Lots of different options. But I would say that overall, right now is a terrific time to buy a home in the market, if you're in the market for a home in Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls is a rapidly growing city. It's a place where people want to come because of the atmosphere, because it's a city I've lived my whole life here in Idaho Falls, and it's a city that people want to live in because we got low crime rates. We have people that care about each other. It's a great community. People look out for each other. I've seen countless in my years that I've lived here in Idaho Falls for my whole life, instances of people helping each other out, being good neighbors. And it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to retire. It's a great place to live, um, for so many reasons. The prices are low compared to a lot of places. Groceries, fuel, power. In the city of Idaho Falls, we have the falls down there by the river. On the river, we create our own power. We're the cheapest utility in the country. Um, the power rate down at the city of Idaho Falls is about 6.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And so where we produce our own power, the city of Idaho Falls produces all the power for the city on the falls down there. And it's kind of a unique feature. You get out I have people come from California and talk to me, and I tell them about the power that we produce here, and it's only 6.5 cents a kilowatt hour, and they about drop their jaw on the floor, and because they're coming from a place where sometimes some of them are up to 40 cents a kilowatt hour on power, and they have rolling blackouts and things like that. So it's a stable place to be. Idaho Falls is a great place to be. And if you are in the market for a home in Idaho Falls or in Southeast Idaho, I'd love to be your agent. Like I said, I've been top producing agent here in Southeast Idaho for 23 years, and I really know the market. I know what it takes to get people into a home that will work for them. I know what it takes to be a good listener, and I'll find out your needs. I'll understand them, and do my best to help you get a good deal on something that fits your lifestyle, fits your family. And so if you're in the market, give me a call. We can help you out. Idaho Falls, Southeast Idaho, and surrounding areas. Again, I'm Juan Murdoch, and give me a call or shoot me a text. My cell number is 208-745-0116. And love to help you guys find what you're looking for.